Hello, and welcome to another episode of In-Car Series, Season 2, Episode 7. Well, I've been losing count. Sorry. Never mind. No, episode... Episode 7, Season 2. Yeah, I lost count with the episodes actually. On that previous one I titled it Season 2, Episode 5, and I had Season 2, Episode 6 on the video. I just literally lose count. I've done that many videos lately. It's incredible. I just keep losing track of them. But I've been busy doing other things as well. Like I've been working and been giving my mate a help, giving some relatives a hand with things. I've been just busy like as well as working and making videos. I took my mate's young nephew and the mate and his partner as well on a day out, met up with friends and that. That was on another video before this, so been out and about like. So basically, I'd just like to mention on the video that regarding the Mandela effect. Now, it's still, because I've not been putting so much videos about the Mandela effect phenomena, that doesn't mean to say that I'm not experiencing it or interested in it or anything like that. It just means I haven't been putting it up on my channel as much. I've been watching lots of I've been watching videos on a channel about the Mandela effect. There's a channel I watch that's really, I find quite interesting. So I've been very much still thinking about the Mandela effect. I mean, when I first experienced I'll rephrase that. When I came across the term Mandela effect, relating to something I experienced and still do experience, that was some 7 or 8 years, it was 2016, the later part of 2016. That's when I came across this term, the Mandela effect phenomenon. And basically what I've experienced before I come across that, but not to the same degree of experience now. So really just try to say that I've been still, ever since the day that I discovered or came across the phrase the Mandela effect phenomena, or the Mandela effect online, I've never stopped thinking about it. I've never stopped thinking about it. It's just that when I experience what I've experienced even before that, it just seems to, I relate it to be called the Mandela effect, because it resembles something online that depicts the Mandela effect phenomenon. I can put the phenomenon a bit. Now I don't know, I'm not even going to claim to know what's going on or what it is. It's something I've experienced, I can assure you of that. And I know what I've experienced, and it's not false memory, which it can be easily dismissed as. And now I've kind of, this is off chatting. What it is, I'm going away to do, I've got a couple of things to do here. I'm just thinking what's best. I might actually just go to Tesco's first, then I'll go along to there. I've got to dump something, so I'm thinking which is the best way. I'll go and dump this first. I was going to do it the other way, but I'm just thinking I'm going to go and dump this. I've got something to dump at the Riverside Recycling Centre, and I'll go along there. I've got to get to the photo shop before it closes, but instead of going there then doubling back and coming this way, I think I'm going to go here instead. I'll get that done. But what I was saying, the Mandela effect phenomena, I'm not even going to claim to even know what's causing it or what's going on, if indeed it even is the same thing. I'm not doing that because I don't know what it is. But as I say, I can assure you I've experienced what I know I've experienced that does resemble something like what's being described online by various channels and various articles as the Mandela effect. Now, it's difficult to explain this phenomenon, but I'll give it a go and explain what I mean when I say that. I mean explain what I experience regarding the Mandela effect. Now, I've done videos on my channel about the Mandela effect phenomena earlier on, like on my channel. I haven't done any, like, I don't know how you could call it lately. You can only really refer it lately in relation to how much I've put up previously. You know, I've only been doing YouTubing since April 2020. So in proportion to that, and relative to all the other channels, there's a bit of a gap because of the quantity of the frequency of videos I've been putting up. I've been putting up a lot of videos since the last Mandela effect video that I put up. So, but if I'd done the channel, started, you know, when I started April 2020 and only done Mandela effect videos, then it'd just be the channel. But if I'd maybe only done about 10 videos and 9 of them were Mandela effects, and it would be heavily loaded with Mandela effects in proportion to the content in the channel. Because I've got about, I don't know, what, 500 videos, there's a few of them on the Mandela effect, but earlier on in my channel. But as I say, it doesn't mean that I've lost interest in the Mandela effect. Far from it, I'm still interested in the Mandela effect. General waste. Hi. Hang on a sec.
Green in there, pal.
Just there, brilliant. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Cheers. General waste, right? That's. I've got an old mattress to dump, so I'm just gonna. I'm gonna pause this because it's easier to do it in one file than more files. So just give us a minute. Right, that's that dumped. Yeah, so I want to get my hands a wash and then get a bite to eat. So, like I was saying, the Mandela effect phenomena. Now I say this all the time when I talk about it. It's entirely up to you what you make of it. You do your own research into it and you make your own conclusions about it. You decide. I'm not here to try and say either way. I'm not even claiming to know what it is or what's causing it or anything. I don't know, but I'm just telling you what I experience. Now, I don't even know if it is the Mandela effect that I'm experiencing. I don't even know that. All I do know is what I've come across online that sort of depicts the experiences that it resembles what I've experienced. I don't know what it is. There's plenty of theories online. Plenty of them. Plenty of... Christ, sorry. Sorry, there's this, I don't know, just choice of words. Wow, there was even an episode of the X-Files that was talking about the Mandela effect. That's how well known it is. And yet there's so much scepticism about it. A lot of people that I've experienced just say to me that I've seen or witnessed or researched into it, seem to just dismiss it as false memory, you know. Like they can't believe it. It's too, you know, it's impossible. Sci-fi or just pseudoscience. Yet they'll believe stuff that they're being told that could happen. You know, get man on a moon and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's kind of fantastic. And then CERN and you've got the nuclear clocks, 2 clocks. You fly them around the globe, atomic clocks, and then one stayed put, the other one flew around the Earth, and then because the clocks were very accurate, they were atomic clocks, when they done the experiment they found there was a slight difference in the time. I mean, that's incredible, and yet some people accept that, but seem to just totally dismiss the point. Yet the Mandela effect could be possible. I think it's far-fetched, but if it's the point in principle, it doesn't matter how big or small it is. If it happens, then it happens. It could be, if it's a small, it's still the principle that opens that possibility to different realms, you know. But besides all that, I mean, again, even that experiment, I didn't see that experiment. I wasn't there. I didn't conduct it or have anything to do with it. I just researched and heard from it second-hand information. So I was already told that this could happen, and that's just the perception of the world that we get. A lot that's been fed to us or taught to us, and we just sort of use that as a means of experiencing or describing what the world's like. Like, for example, the world, they say it's a globe. I mean, people, they look out, they think it's the sea, they believe that it's a globe of the sea, but they could, with the horizon, they may have done experiments that could conclude to that kind of thing. But have they actually gone out into space, looked at the planet? I'm not saying either way whether it's a globe or whatever, I'm just using that as an example. That if you've not actually went out and saw it firsthand, you're only using second-hand information to get to that conclusion. Even if you use equipment, you're still having to use that as a means of your bias, your basis of your belief, I suppose. If you believe that experiment you've done, you know, because if there's not, on the assumption that there isn't any manipulative forces to influence your experiment, then if you take that out of the equation and just use the experiment as a means of proving it, then, and discarding other things, then that's on the strength of your belief that it's a globe or whatever. But besides that, the Mandela effect, I didn't even name it that. It was dubbed that because of something to do with Nelson Mandela. There was a lot of reports that he died at a different date to what he actually did, and then from there it seemed to have just came around with this name Mandela effect. I don't know what it's called. I don't know why. I didn't name it that. That's just what was being told online, that's why it's been named. As I say, I don't even know what I've experienced, if that's the same thing, or what it could be different things every time it causes that. But there's plenty of theories, but these theories seem to categorise the whole lot as this is what's causing it, or what may cause it. It could be different for each and every one of the experiences that I've experienced. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the same thing that's happening, but to explain it isn't very easy, because it's quite for a start, if you're a skeptic, you'll just dismiss it right away. You'll just think that it's nuts, you know. You'll probably just say, oh, forget it, it's just a lot of crap or something. That can't be happening, it's impossible. But you'd probably think it was far-fetched. I mean, to explain the Mandela effect, or what it's depicted as a Mandela effect, it's, as I say, it's not easy. I think the way I could only, in a nutshell at this moment, I'll maybe come back and try and explain it a bit better, because I've got to get into this Tesco's first, get this done, get something to eat, then I'll come back and do a bit more of a video on it. But in a nutshell, just for now, it's probably, you could maybe look on it as, I don't know, history changing perhaps, but not on a mass scale, but just on your perspective. Something you experienced in history, that historical events changed, or if something that's changed and it's supposedly always been that way, yet you remember it as a totally different way. You know, the only really better way to explain it is to give you kind of like an example, one that I could relate to. Not saying or claiming I found it or anything like that, no, I'm not. I'm just telling the viewers, or you, or whoever's listening, that yeah, I can see that one, I can relate to that one. There's one that's familiar as a popular one, the Berenstain Bears or whatever it is. I couldn't tell you either way. Don't even know, I've never, couldn't tell you. But it seems to be a popular one. If you type in the Mandela effect, that seems to pop up all the time. Couldn't tell you either way. But there's one that I can relate to that's online, and it's the spelling of Volkswagen, the car manufacturer, the German car manufacturer, Volkswagen. This, by the way, is Skoda Octavia. It's part of the Volkswagen Audi group. Coming off point, but Volkswagen was always, for me, I always remember it being spelt with O at the end of it. So it was Volkswagen. But now, apparently, it's always been Wagen with an E. The last two letters being EN. I always remember it being ON. I even looked back at car books that I got from a friend of mine that I've had for 30 years, plus, over 30 years. I went and checked it when I discovered it. Although I discovered it quite a few years back after 2016, and on the books that haven't left my house and haven't been tampered with, even on these books that the spelling's been changed. So, I mean, I could definitely relate to that, because I clearly remember it being, and I could remember it being spelt with an O at the end of it. But there's lots of other Mandela effects examples that I could clearly relate to. Now, like I say, there's a channels that are, well, there's one I watch a lot that seems to come across that they may do a lot more in-depth study or research into the phenomena, and on the basis it would be like, perhaps regarded as the Mandela effect on that level, it'd be a linear thing, like it's all from the same, perhaps the same source, and it's from this it's resulting in all the differences that are going on. But right, hang on a minute, we have to answer this. Right, so I've got to get in there and get this, what I need done. I better get it done before it closes. I'll come back and I'll have something to eat here and I'll be blather about it, and get that sorted. I had to get this seen as well. It's just another thing I've got to deal with. Right, I'll have to make this another file. I'll wait till it gets 16. Right, that's 16 minutes. Right, so I've just got something in there to get developed in that. So I've got about 10 minutes. I've got a wee bite to eat, so I'm just going to scoff this while the going's good. Now, this is a bit messy, actually, that chicken. Just fresh from the deli. Hot chicken, so it's messy, but who cares? I'll clean up. Some people are really strict, they don't like eating in their car or that. One of my relatives was like that when I was a kid. Like, I used to love eating chocolates, sweeties, and he got a new car and he said, so you're not eating in this car, I'm eating a mess. And my dad had an old car as well. I had an old Austin Allegro, but it was just falling to bits. But I loved it. I learned a lot about cars because he was always fixing it, and he didn't care, just eat sweeties. Obviously he kept it clean to a degree, like, you know, it wasn't a total mess, but you know, you clean it up. Oh. So I've got to get this eaten, get back in there, get the. So I've got basically something to get sorted out, and it said get back in about 10 minutes. So like I say, there's a channel. There's a channels on YouTube. It's really interesting, I find. Anyway, talks about the various things, but mainly the Mandela effect. And it seems to be the channel. Well, from my impression, it seems like the channel I watch doesn't take a lot of stuff for granted. Doesn't take stuff for granted. Always tries to find out, you know, firsthand. So seems to do a lot of experiments to learn that way. That's how it seems to come across. The channel that I watch doesn't seem to take anything for granted. And it seems like when it talks about the Mandela effect, it would give you more of a credentials just to strengthen that it does exist. Because it just seems like it's reputable. But it's like you might think to yourself that surely if this channel believes it, it's kind of got more credentials, I suppose. It might seem more likely to be true. Now, however, that does not mean, all that means is what you take it to be. It's just like, for example, it could only ever be what you, if you take the credentials and make the credentials and you decide yourself on the impression that you make from it, or the impression that you get from it, and you decide whether you take that to be fact or what. That's all it could. Anything could be from online. Even my video. Anything. It doesn't mean any more than what you could actually make from it from the artificial source. And there's the point what you accept to be acceptance to be true. For example, I mean, if you watch the, well, I don't know who you are, I don't know who's watching, but let's just say you, I don't know, if you take an example for you. If you watch, read the newspapers and watch the news, for example, the BBC or whatever, it might seem that a lot of people may believe it to be as it is. It may not. But if somebody that's unbeknown to you, a stranger, was to tell you something, who are you more likely to believe? The news, or even there's another one. Say you get your teacher at school, you taught something, right? So, are you more likely to believe your teacher or Joe Blogg's public, somebody you haven't met before? You're more likely to believe, well, you may be more likely to believe your teacher, somebody you're more familiar with. You're more likely to take the word of somebody that seems to be, you'd be possibly more comfortable to accept something to be true from somebody you're familiar with than somebody you aren't. But it still doesn't change the point. It doesn't mean that it's a fact, first-hand fact, because it can't be a first-hand fact if it's not from your own experience. So, now, like you were saying, that channel, I get the impression that it seems to me that it's like if this channel's talking about it to this degree and seemingly going to this degree, it may give you more bias to believe that it's the Mandela effect is, that it's true on the strength that once it reaches a point in your mind that, oh, I'm going to accept this, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't really, it won't be the same as you finding out firsthand and experiencing it yourself. So if you get told something from, I don't know, the media, for example, you're more likely to believe that than you would a total stranger you bump into if they told you the same story without any background to it, I'll tell you here, an example. So if somebody you haven't met before says, I saw an alien, right? Now, alien can be described as anything. Alien could mean a lot of things, but we'll just say, I don't know, a UFO can mean a lot of things as well. All it means is unidentified flying object to the viewer. Or a Martian, I saw an alien, right? Something like that. Now, if they said it and you don't know who they are, would you believe them to the same extent as if it were from the news? Somebody on the news, or one of your, or somebody you knew, or you're more likely to give more bias to somebody that you know, or something that's got the reputation to be widely accepted, like perhaps the media. But that doesn't mean that it's true 100%, other than, it doesn't mean that you've experienced it truly for yourself firsthand, is what I'm trying to say. It just means that you're accepting that. Gosh, I mean, this, you know what, this must be the only time I haven't made as much mess eating. It's maybe because on the spotlight, normally I just making a mess, but probably more conscious in recording this and get myself more tidy. This is messy, but this is messy food to eat, unfortunately, but it's very delicious, it's tasty. Just love it. So like I was saying, well, going back to the Mandela effect anyway. Like I say, the Mandela effect isn't necessarily what I've experienced. What I've experienced, I know what I've experienced. And I know that I could relate to it of something similar to what I've seen off the internet, named the Mandela effect. Mm. But I was saying the I was going to explain, wasn't it? Well, what I experienced. Well, it's like say if you remember something clearly as to how it was before, and then you go and find out, stumble across it somehow that it's changed, then you'll look back and say, wonder why it changed. Then you'll research into it and find out that it's never, it's always been the way it is now. But for you, it'll have been a change. So it's a bit like history changing. You remember something one way, yet it's never been. Now, there's a lot of theories online about it. That's all there could ever be, like. Timelines, like your consciousness, we accept it, we've got a consciousness, or I may accept that. Our conscious would be our, well, I don't know, soul, mind, whatever, inner being. If they're saying, well, it's theory they put out there, if they're suggesting that their consciousness is shifting from one dimension to another, like dimensions, just here now, here in this timeline, like it's 20, going on 25 to 4 on Sunday the 30th of January 2023. I think that's the day's date. So that's the date, that's the time in this part of the dimension. The other bit of the dimension is the position where I am in relation to the viewer, wherever that would be. So in relation to the universe, or in relation to wherever that pinpoint is. So I'm sitting here at Tesco Riverside car park in Dundee at about 25 to 4 in the afternoon on Sunday the 30th of January 2023. That dimension, that everything that's going on, well, everything from my perspective that I could see would be the dimension that I am consciously seeing and experiencing, like sitting in my car here with dinner. I can see what's going on in front of me. So in this dimension, this existence. Now, if they're staying on the theory that if the consciousness is shifting to a different dimension, right? So it would appear to be the same time, place, and everything, doing the same stuff. But instead of me sitting in the car eating roast chicken, right, the hot chicken, perhaps in this dimension I could be sitting in the car eating a cheeseburger. And doing exactly the same, everything's happening the same, but instead of being chicken, it would be a cheeseburger that I'm eating. So the consciousness would shift from one dimension into another dimension that's very similar. Of course, the difference would be the Mandela effect. So then, when I look back in retrospect, let's just say, well, I'll play an example in video on this. So let's say this time next year, right, I look back on this video and I see myself, instead of eating chicken, right, I see myself eating a cheeseburger. And I'd be remembering that, no, that's not right. I remember myself eating chicken today. And the video shows that I'm eating a cheeseburger. And let's just say there's witnesses, because there's people anywhere, right? You don't know when you're being watched or not. That's the whole point. You don't know. When you look at somebody, it appears like they're not looking, but people do notice things. It obviously don't necessarily mean or need to be noticed, but you can be rest assured that you might think, oh, nobody's looking, but you be witnessed, either by second-hand information camera, or people do it subconsciously, but you're noticed. Anyway, so the witnesses may say, oh, I remember you sitting here, although it doesn't seem obvious to me, but you can be rest assured that people witness things. You do. You even pick it up subconsciously. You look, you think, that's not be looking, just people going about the business. But you're registered everything. Your mind picks up everything that's going on subconsciously and consciously. Because people will see something that may think, oh, inside they think, that reminds me of something, but they won't make it look obvious. They'll just glance and just, to them, it'll just look like looking through you or past you. You take stuff in, you get impressions from everything you see. That's how you remember things. So if I got a bit of said, oh, I remember you sitting in your car Yeah, you wouldn't notice, but I noticed you scoffing at a cheeseburger because the cheeseburger you ate looked like something I just had 5 minutes ago. And, and I think, no, it was chicken I was eating. It was chicken. That would be like, in that dimension it was chicken, but in the dimension that I was in when I was questioning it would be the other dimension where I'd shifted to one, and that one where I was eating a cheeseburger. But because I remember being in this, eating chicken, I'd been remembering, that's where I remembered what it was like in the other dimension. Well, that remembrance is the important factor because I'm able to remember something that supposedly never happened. Now, trying to explain that isn't easy. It's not easy at all, because as soon as you hear me talking about dimensions and all that kind of stuff and history changing, you may just say, talking nonsense, which is I've heard before, which is fair enough. I don't mind it. I don't want to influence anybody's opinion on it, and just here on my video explaining my experience of what I experienced, as I say, I haven't talked about the Mandela effect in my video in relation to other stuff. There's been lots of other videos put in since then, since the last time I talked about the Mandela effect. But because the video's only been going on for 3 years, it's not overly long. Some videos that have been going on for 7 or 8 years, it's talked about it since the word go. But like I say, because I've got other videos on my channel doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not interested in the Mandela effect. I've never stopped thinking about the Mandela effect phenomena and lots of other phenomena as well, as it happens. And even before, I've experienced stuff that would be maybe regarded as supernatural, because I know what I've experienced. For the viewer, the supernatural might just seem, just tar it all with the same brush. It's only supernatural for those that don't understand it. If you understood it, it wouldn't be supernatural, it would be natural, because you know what's going on. Oh, God. I sleep through on my jeans. It's messy stuff. I better wash my time, I better get back in there. I'll have a wee blather away in it, get back. There's people going about their business all the time. They just look like they're doing their business, doing what they're doing. But you can be rest assured, people clock what's going on a lot more than appear. That's just the way it is. People will clock a lot more than what they may appear, even if they don't realise it, subconsciously as well. And the Mandela effect phenomena does seem to, I don't know, choice of words, target the subconscious, because it's not always easy. When I say I can be 100% certain of something, that I remember it that way, that's just a saying, but there's no really much doubt. I remember clearly that, like for example, Volkswagen was spelt with an O at the end, and other people I've spoke to first hand also remember it being spelt with an O at the end, like O-N, Volkswagen. So that's just one example, and I know somebody that does it. And if you go online, it appears that a lot of people, it would appear that it seems to be a known phenomenon, because the initial article was put up already and I just stumbled across it. But things online are one thing, the reality's, it's all reality is all included in this. But when something's online, it's got to be mentioned that it is online, because anything online can be manipulated. It could be tailor fitted for the exact moment in time that you're looking online. It could be, you don't know, because it goes through servers, or at least we're led to believe that's how it works. It's all been, when you're online, you're looking at your screen and your device, and that's where you get your information from, and that can be manipulated easily being done now. I mean, people get their ideas of the world from artificial sources like televisions, radios, media. Like, I mean, they think that they know a lot about the moon, they think they know a lot about Mars, they think they know a lot about places they've never been to, but they only get this information from sources that are artificial, like books is even artificial, second-hand information, or word of mouth is artificial. It's not, it's still second-hand information. It's only your belief that puts it to being true, what you accept to be true. I'm going to get back in there and get my thing. I'll have a wee bland when I drive back up the road about it. So it could be, made just thinking blathering shite, that's fine. It doesn't bother me, because I know what I've experienced. All I'm doing on my video is just telling you my experiences and my point of view, and just letting you know that I still haven't forgot about the Mandela effect, because there's a channel I watch that's very interesting, that's consistent with the Mandela effect, and I just whoever's watching this know that I've never forgot about the Mandela effect, and I've always thought about it since the day that I've came across that term, which was about, well, it was a later part of 2016. Although 2016 was quite an interesting year. It's quite a milestone in a way, because something else happened at the spring of 2016. That's kind of the year you could say that maybe it's, I don't know, that it changed. Like to the point of no return. Before that I knew there was always something odd. There was strange things going on. There was still doubt, but not really actually. There wasn't really any doubt because I had experienced things. So I'll rephrase that. I was always certain because I always know and felt and experienced stuff even before I came across 2016. But in 2016 there was something that year that I came across. It just changed it forever up until now. There's no any. It's just like before. I was a strong believer. In fact, I was certain. If it was in my heart, I always knew. In 2016, it's now obvious. It's like, no need to hide it now. It's clear as day. Yeah, I can see it. But it's just like, what's the reason behind it? Why is it there? Why is this happening? Before, it was like looking at it. I could see it. I experienced it. I knew in my heart there was something odd going on. 2016, yep. Got kind of like, you could say, I've reached a point. I've touched it. Felt it. Yep. Now, the next stage, what's the next stage, you know? What's that all about? You know? But there's no doubt now. 2016, stumbled across stuff. It just opened my mind to other things, that was all. It opened my mind to things that now I could never close even if I wanted to. Right, I'm going to get back in there. I'll heavy blether when I drive back up the road. Right, that's better. So I've got that done. Right. So I'll get myself up the road. Aye, it's supposedly a rest day, Sunday. All I've been doing is catching up with things that I couldn't do when I was working. When I work 4-day week duties, it's a long day and just getting up, going to work, coming back home, going to bed, more or less. Because the time I get up, it's late. It's just going to work, spend all day working because it's a long day. Come back home, it's midnight, after midnight. Sit up for a couple, 2 or 3 hours, watch something, unwind, then go to bed and do it all over again. And do it 7 days in a row. Get a few days off, come back, do it another 7 days in a row. You know, it's just like that. And then when you finally get rest days, your whole day's, you're knackered. Your head's like all over the place, you're effed. I won't say that word, but you're knackered, totally knackered. Then I'm trying not to swear. You go home, you're absolutely fucked, and you spend your rest day, so-called rest day, catching up with things that you can't do during the week, and you're absolutely knackered again. And then before you know it, your rest day is nearly over. That's another thing, time's sped up. I believe that. I could tell you a big story on that as well, but I genuinely believe that time has sped up. I don't just mean that as a metaphor or a saying, or because I'm getting older and it's a percentage of my years and my age. No, I've actually experienced time speeding up. People will just think I'm talking pish, fine, but I know what I've experienced and just telling you in my video what I've experienced, and I know and felt that time has sped up. And it's not, as I say, it's not just because of the proportion of my age, and coming up for 48 this year. So 1 year's a 48th of my life. I know when I was 10 that 1 year's a 10% of my life. It's a bigger proportion. I know all about the proportions and all that. Like a year would seem like an eternity when I'm younger. Like if I was 2, a year's 50%. I know all about that. I've thought about all that. It's been put to me. I know that. That's not what I've experienced. I know that I've experienced it actually speeding up. I'd probably go to say that it's sped up to about at least 1.5 times. It seems like ridiculous. You might think, you might think, what am I drinking or something? That's fine, think that, I don't care. But I know it doesn't change what I've experienced. I mean, I'm just telling you what I've experienced. It seems to me that it's sped up about 1.5 times. So, anyway, now there was things online about that. I looked into it, I researched into it. It's already been searched, and all I'm doing is researching into something that's second-hand information. And as I say, like I said before, you either accept it to the point of believing it, but at least if you know that that's what you're doing, that's something at least. Because it used to be that I mean, it wouldn't be facts, yeah. It can't be facts. If you're just taking something on belief, it can't be a fact. It's only just accepted as a fact. And if it comes from a reputable source, or what you deem to be a reputable source, that would be your. That would be your acceptance of it being a fact, or to what you describe what a fact is. I think facts, if it's anything from second-hand information, even my video, this doesn't necessarily mean that to you this might not be happening. This could just be all a stage act. This could be anything. What you're looking at is just light and sound. Well, you're looking at light and getting sound from your device, right? Regarding the information that you're seeing, and you are accepting it to be me sitting in my car on a Sunday afternoon talking about this. That's what it would seem to you. But this may not be necessarily the case. Let's just say this was all fake. Let's say this is a computer generated image of me, and all this, or in your case, all the picture that you're seeing on your device, if you're watching it properly and actually listening and watching what I'm saying, then that would be to your acceptance that it's happening, that this event's happening. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it actually happened. It doesn't, because it could be fake. It could be fake. This image and what you perceive to be me could be fake. It doesn't necessarily mean that today, on this date, that this happened in this car park at this time. It's just that you make it in your own mind that what you see on there is to be fact. That it's like, you know, you see the colours, you see the I'm wearing a grey, I've got a silver watch on, the interior of the car, you can see the shapes of the interior of the car, and you know that what you make in your mind, that's what's being produced on your device is giving you the thought that that's a car seat, right? Because it's putting that implanted information into your mind. That's what your device is doing. If you understand English and you understand the words that it's saying, and you hear what your device is putting out into your ears, you then put the connection that your device is telling you that you're hearing the words, the English words in English, and then you do the rest. But it's basically artificial. The vibrations from the device that will give your brain will make your brain think of the English words, because that device is not my voice, and that image is not me. That image and that sound that you're hearing is your device. Your device is making a picture, and it's producing a sound that your mind will accept to the point of what you'd accept to be true as a fact, to accepting that in a human sitting in a car park, sitting blethering a load of shite probably. But I don't really care, because I'm interested in everything, but I don't care because it doesn't change my point of view on it, because I know what I've experienced at Time Sped Up, and I know what I've experienced with the Mandela effect, and I know that whatever you see, or whatever I see, then I can't speak for anyone else and I won't, so therefore I'll use my as an example. Whatever I see on that screen, whether it's television or devices, can only ever be artificial. It can't be a fact. And I can only say, I don't know who you are, what's, you know, but I can only say that from my analysis of how things reality works, that you look at a device or listen to a radio, even if you read a book, all it's doing is giving information from the device, book, whatever, even word of mouth. Word of mouth is just sound waves coming from somewhere else, going into your ear, and it's going into your mind, and you just make the ideas happen in your head, and you get this picture, and you then either make the credentials and say it's fact or whatnot. So if somebody that you think's got the credentials to say something is, you know, you believe them over someone else, it might say exactly the same story. It's up to you. Anyway, better get moving. That's something like to say that it's still interested in all this Mandela effect. Never stopped thinking about it since I come across the term. Now, as I said, I'll make it clear, I didn't name it the Mandela effect. I don't even know all the things I've experienced are necessarily from the same source, the Mandela effect. I don't know, but I know what I've experienced, and I know that it resembles, well, when I look at what I've experienced, when I think of what I've experienced and look at what I see online, it does sort of it matches up, but resembles what I've seen online. So I know I went through the straight on. I know if you're watching the road, you would have known that 2 arrows going like that. It seems pointless. Why would anybody want to turn right coming out of there anyway? I don't see the point in it. This is a private car park. It doesn't matter if you, well, it does matter obviously, but I do it all the time. Everybody does it. If you're looking at the road and you saw me going straight on when there was an arrow saying turn left and an arrow saying turn right, that doesn't matter, because I know that turning right, all it does is go back into there. So what? Everybody does it. So if you're watching and you saw that I committed I didn't commit offence because it's not a road traffic, it's just some private ground. But you know, it's common sense, everybody does it. I know that in filming with driving, so I've got to make sure I don't do anything like, because if you're a traffic cop watching this and you know what I mean. But anyway, coming off point. Going along Riverside Drive, by the way. What was I saying? Yeah, the Mandela effect. I came across the name Mandela effect in the later part of 2016. 2016, it's spring 2016 was like a, I don't know, it's not really a turning point, because it was always a believer in something more than this natural. No, it's like what there was dubbed supernatural. The reason being is because I've experienced it. That's a long story, I won't go into all of it, but I'll just tell you, if it's got a long story short, you believe what you like. But I've experienced stuff before 2016. I always knew there was something, but once 2016 March, or spring, March is in spring, once that passed, something I just pretty much explained. It was, yeah, there it is, I can see it. It's definitely something there, alright, no question about it. But I just don't know why or what it's about. But I do know that something happened. So those of you that know me, like personally, like my mates, you'll know what I'm talking about, because I've always talked about it. But the whole point of this video is just to make it clear that I have not lost interest in the Mandela effect phenomenon, because, like I say, I've seen channels online talking about the Mandela effect. There's one in particular that I do like to watch, because I do find it interesting, and it's listen to what's being said on that channel, and I feel nil that I want to put a video saying that I haven't lost interest in it. Anyway, that's what I'm going to, even although I haven't put much videos up on the channel regarding it, I've put a lot of other videos about various things. I mean various things, because my channel's got anything from it doesn't have a set specific subject, whereas the one I watch so far, what I can make of it has only been solely about the Mandela effect, and other things as well relating to scientific experiments, perhaps you can word it like that, but not necessarily scientific in the mainstream, but maybe more out with the box thinking of scientific. But it seems knowledgeable. Seems to know a lot about what the channel's talking about, and it comes across very intriguing. When you hear it, you want to listen to it. It gets you listening, and I've been listening to it for years. I've actually met the channel as well, and it was very interesting. But like I said before, you know, it's up to everybody to make their own mind up about it. So I know what I've experienced, and I can't help think that it doesn't necessarily mean that all the experiences that I've experienced come from the same source as the Mandela effect. So I can't claim any of that. I'm not even going to pretend to know what's going on, because I don't know what's going on. What's the point pretending anyway? I don't see the point in that. I want to know what's going on, genuinely want to know. I want to learn what's going on regarding the Mandela effect and other strange phenomena. The channel's got other videos on regarding strange phenomena, particularly the Quest series that I've made on my channel. I named it Quest, and that has a lot of stuff that I regard to be strange and supernatural. And if you want to have a look at that, if you're interested to see what I've put up about it, then feel free. It comes under the name title of Quest, made a few of them. I've lost count how many I've done, like, but I've made a few. Just type in Quest, Quest is what it's spelled, and my name. So look at my channel for that, and you'll get an idea of some of the stuff. That's just like some of the stuff anyway. But as I say, my channel's made up of a lot of different subjects, and that doesn't necessarily mean because I've put other stuff up that's completely not, you know, like Mandela effect, doesn't mean I've lost interest in it. I just feel as though I want to put that on my channel right now, so I've done that. I've watched, I'm not saying or claiming or saying anything, I'm just saying that I've watched the channel, which I find interesting, and I feel after watching the channel that I want to do this. I just want to make it so that if the channel's watching, then I'm just saying that I am not lost interest in the Mandela effect phenomena because I haven't put videos on my channel regarding it. Now, I'm not saying that that's what the channel's saying anyway. I'm just saying that I just want to make it clear to everybody that I have not lost interest in the Mandela effect phenomena. If you're judging that from the fact that I haven't put many videos up in relation to the other videos that I've got on my channel already in the time scale that has been existing. I've only been doing YouTube since April 2020, and I've got a big mixture of videos on my channel. There's only like maybe a handful regarding the Mandela effect, and it's spread it out over that time. But because I haven't done one in a while, it doesn't mean I've got bored of it and forgot about it. I've never forgot about the Mandela effect since the day I discovered the name online, because it resembles something that I've already experienced before I came across that. Many years before. Many years. I'm talking about going back, when I think back on it now, like I say, way back as far as the late 80s, during the 90s, and there was something that was quite key, quite obvious to me in 2007. I came out the factory once I was working in. I came out and I looked over towards the car park area. I was heading to get my car, I parked the car there, and I always take this route going to get my car after I finish my shift, always. And this particular time, I've got different years, I looked over and there was fence posts there that were not there before. They weren't there before, and I know they weren't there before because I've walked that route many times when I finished my shift, and just one day they were there. I had to do a double take. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here because I'm not driving right to my house, so I'm just going to stop here and round the video off here. I'd rather do that, like. But as far back as 2007, that was like something that was just a punch, like something's really odd going on. I never forgot that since that day. And that day I finished my work. I can't remember the date or the exact date or anything like that, but it was in 2007. It was towards, probably, it was either the start of 2007 because it was dark when I finished. So it was either early 2007 or it was late 2007. Something's sort of telling me it may have been probably autumn 2007. I think it was autumn, so it may have been a later part, because I finished at 4:30. I finished that shift at the factory at 4:30 back then, and it was maybe, might have been later in the year, and it may have been earlier. It might have been November, December. No, it might have been January 2007. Come on, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was dark anyway. I was getting dark anyway. It was either early 2007, like January, or it was December 2000. It was certainly 2007. Because I came out and it was dark. I looked over there because I was parked up there. I always parked there. Well, 99% of the time I parked up at that car park where I was heading towards, and I passed there all the time. And that particular day I came out, there was posts, fence posts, and I noticed it, and I was like, that's odd. Where did they go? They weren't there this morning, you know, because I already worked. I started the shift at back then. It was 7:45 it started in the morning, and I worked through at 4:30. And there wasn't any, and I had my dinner in the afternoon as well. So I walked out to my car to get my dinner. I sat in the car and had my lunch, and that was at 12:30, I think. And there wasn't any roadworks going on. There wasn't any work or any work days or anything. And to put the posts in, but it took a lot longer than 4 hours. Because I parked the car in the car park at 7:45. No, just before actually, because my shift started at 7:45, so it must have been at 20 or something. Something like that. It was only a 2-minute walk, and there was no any evidence of any work going to start. There wasn't any there wasn't anything planned, like the machines sitting to do work. There was nothing like that. So for 7:45, then I came out and had my lunch about 12:30 or whatever it was, nothing happening. And then for 3:30, 4:30, they were there, and I didn't hear any work or any machines, and it wasn't just, there wasn't any evidence of any fresh work done anyway. So I had a close look at them, and it looked like they'd been there for ages. Now this is before I came across the name Mandela effect phenomena online. I mean, I wasn't even online. I didn't have in 2007 I never even had a camera phone. I just had an ordinary phone, so I wasn't able to picture anything. I wasn't even online. The only stuff I'd done online was at the library, but I didn't have a computer of any sort. So I wasn't searching around for the Mandela effect. But that thing I experienced resembles the Mandela effect. You see what I mean? Because it's like, maybe if you're going by the theories that are out there talking about the Mandela effect, like dimensional shifts and our conscious shifts from different dimensions. From the dimension where I came to my work to when I left that factory, if you're going by that, then I was shifted into another dimension with when the posts were there, because it looked like the posts were always there, and they'd been there ever since. Or certainly right up till when I worked, to the end of that factory job. And that's just that was a tough one. That was quite a heavy one. I mean, before that there was things more subtle, but because I never forget the things, I was fascinated in them even when I was a kid. And there's one big particular story anyway that I'm not even going to mention, because if I start on the video will be too long. That'll be for another video. It's regarding buses then. If you know who, those that are watching that know me will know exactly what I'm talking about. But, I'm not even going to go into that, but when I think back on retrospect, that too resembles the Mandela effect. But there's a big story on that. I'm not even going to go into that, perhaps for another video. But the thing about when I talk about that, it's kind of controversial. It's kind of like directly in conflict of records and people that I know that's talked to me. So I'm not sure I'd want to talk about that particular story, because as I say, it would result in direct conflict of what's been said in person to me, because it's contradicting it, and it's contradicting so many things, and I'm not prepared to open that up in public. So, but what I will say is it's something that I've experienced since I've came across it since 1987 actually, and I was only 12, and it's changed my life forever, because I got interested in buses because of this. I won't name any specifics here, I'll just give you the principle. I was basically, I'm trying to word it so I'm not actually naming anything, because if I name anything it's going to be direct conflict with what's being said. I'm not doing that. I don't make videos to cause conflict or anything like that. But it's basically a model that came out before it had ever meant to have came out. And I remember clearly that model, because it's a distinctive model. And I remember it very well, and I remember specific details, sounds, shapes, window shapes, seat colours especially, very clearly. I was interested in vehicles before I took a Pacific, or official interest in buses then. That would be June 1987. Before that, I was interested in big vehicles anyway. So I looked at buses included, because they're big vehicles, lorries, buses, and I liked cars and all that. I was always interested in watching how they got fixed. I was always interested in how the engines, the chassis, how it worked, the big wheels, the noises they made. I always liked to listen to noises, especially exhausts, the deep sounds when I was a kid, ever since I was a kid. Still do. So I was aware of that, I was always looking at that. And in 1987, there was a model of bus that then sounded different to how I remembered it. And so I'm going to look back all the records and everything and manufacturers over the years, trying to figure out what happened, why they changed their engines, etc. and when they came. And apparently they never came until much later, and they never had engines changed. They were always like the way they sounded in 87. But I remember it clearly being before that. It sounded different before 87, 86. So I've narrowed it down a bit, but those that know me will know what I'm talking about. Those that don't, are not causing conflict or anything like that. And I haven't named anything, so I haven't named any details. I'm just giving you the point and principle that I've experienced something. Because when I look back on it now, some 36 years in, is it? This is 2023, so this March No, this June will be 36 years. So looking back with the knowledge and experience that we've got about Mandela, well, knowledge, what we've researched and what I've heard about, it's fair to consider it being a Mandela effect as well. But I don't know, there's another thing about the Mandela effect, is this Mandela effect residue. It's a big story now, but in 1994 I came across somebody that clearly remembers something that I remembered regarding these buses, and without giving them any preconceived ideas, gave this person a bit of paper and a pen and says, could you draw what you remember? And the features this person drew resembled the features that the model that I remembered at that time scale when they were never supposed to have existed. And the person that I spoke to was on the buses for years and was in a high position. And I'll leave it, I won't give any names or details, and that's just one big residue, if you like to look at it that way, if you're regarding it in Mandela effect terms. But there's other little things as well, residues or little clues, things like that were out there that kind of correspond slightly, but no proof whatsoever. That's not enough to say that that happened. The memory of the person that I spoke to, the details, was near enough spot on to what that model would have. So, like I say, that's gone back to 1987 when I first discovered there was a change. And throughout all these years, it's kind of drew me into buses. I've been into big vehicles and that anyway, but that kind of got me officially into buses, focused on buses. And then as a result of all these years, I've become a bus spotter, bus enthusiast, if you want a fancy term. Bus spotter is the slang for it. Ever since I was 12, since I was at primary 7, just going into the first year. And I've worked now because of that. I've been learning about all the work, engines, the engineering side of it. I now drive buses. I've been driving buses for 15 years. Prior to that, I was into buses, going to valleys and travelling around in them since 1987. So buses are a big part of my life, and it started off because of that. I remember the day very well. I remember the very first time I discovered that I was getting on the bus to go home, and just prior to getting that bus, earlier on that day, I remember asking my dad, because at this point my dad he scrapped the car. The car was just knackered, so it was finished. So we didn't have a car for a long time, and we started using the bus. But even when he had a car, we still used the bus because it broke down a lot, and I was on the bus with other people like my granny and my friends as well. Sometimes my dad would, if the car was not able to get fixed at that time, or if it was in for its MOT, we'd use the bus. Sometimes we used the bus for various reasons. And even though my dad had the car, was still sometimes there was times when I needed to use the bus for whatever reasons. And the bus is always just to pass the house where it's not that far from where I live. So I see the bus route that it goes past, and I saw the buses and that. But then when the car got scrapped, we used the bus for a bit. Then he got another car, and the engine blew up on that, and then that got scrapped. It was too old to repair, and I never had a car for ages. And I started using the bus again. And I remember asking my dad one time about a particular model of bus. I asked him, I just asked him, because that's what you do. I was a kid. I said, where did that type of bus go with these seat colours? And let's say I won't give out details. I'll just tell you that it was the seat colours that I was asking about. The buses with that type of colour of seat. And he said, well, my dad wasn't into buses. He said, I don't know what happened to them, because I hadn't seen them for a while. And then we're coming back from an appointment from somewhere, and we're getting the bus parked, and it was that type of bus that turned up out of the blue, amazingly. Out of the blue, as in the figure of speech, and out of the blue, not indicating as to what the seat colours were. I wasn't, I'm not going to say either way. I was not giving details, but just out of chance that this model turned up. And the first thing that struck me is it sounded totally different to what I remembered it sounding before, after all these probably about a year since I last saw that model. And of course then I wondered, because I was always interested in how engines work, and I was fascinated that it sounds different to what it used to, and I wanted to know how they managed it, how they managed to get the engines to fit and change, and so I went and started asking the bus garage and going down there, and nobody knows anything about it. They said it became new that way. They were never as old as I thought they were. The buses were never as old. They say the buses were quite new, and it looked quite new actually. It was a new model. The model looked quite new for the age that I remember it, which is quite unusual. That's why I remember it, because it was quite a distinctive model back before. Because I stayed at Finchley. Since I was born, I was 5, I stayed at Finchley and Cheviot Crescent. So for the first 5 years, I remember seeing these buses and that. Hang on a minute, I've got to answer this. Yeah, so I did. I was making sure I unpaused it. About 28 minutes. No, I had to round it off. Right. No, I'll leave that for another video. But basically, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is, that's just one example, big example. It changed my life in a respect. It was in the buses. I've got other reasons for, for the way I've got into the job that I'm in and that, but that's primarily what got me attracted to buses, because I was interested from that point onwards. And like I say, I checked through, done a lot of research and checked through many records, manufacturers, went digging, meaning actually going right in, because back there wasn't an internet in the 90s, 80s and 90s. I wrote letters off and went to places, asked people, and they all said that it couldn't have happened, basically, whereas I clearly remember it. And then in 1994, I came across someone that worked on the buses, and he was high up in the position, and we were talking about buses. Obviously, they got on the subject in the first place, and then I talked about that model, and I was like, he remembers. Well, I've gave you too much already. I said it's a he, so well, I'll leave it out. But he remembers, and the details that he said was, it was great. I was like, struck gold. This is absolutely amazing. But all these years and nobody, and yet this person remembers it. It was too good to be true, I was saying to myself. So I got a bit of paper and said, could you sketch what you remember, like, without me telling them some of the details? I says, well, I know the details. I said, could you tell me about this part of this model? And he was able to draw. I've still got the sketches, and what he drew was near enough spot on. He knows the model I'm talking about, and he knows some specific details as well when they came new, and the date that at a date that they were supposed to have never existed, and he remembers a lot, quite pointed details. But as time went on, the situation that was in 1994, different ways, because where we met somewhere in I was doing something in 1994. I was attending something in 1994, and he was attending as well. And that circumstances were changed, and I was doing something else, and he was doing something else. There was lots of others there as well, but we went with separate ways. I only knew I bumped into this person at this place, and I haven't saw him since, with the exception of a couple of years later. I went somewhere and bumped into him again, just by on the off chance, but I couldn't really get talking because of the situation we were in. He was busy doing something, and I couldn't really get into a great conversation. But that was the last time I saw him. That may have been 1995 or 1996, but I only saw him in 1994 for a few weeks, because we were attending this same thing. And so I've never met anyone since that's known as much details like that. And he was getting on a bit then, so I don't even know if he's still alive, because that was 29 years ago. Although I saw him in 95 or 96, so that would have been 27 years ago. 28, 27, nearly 30 years ago, basically. So that's a long story in that, but I say I don't want to give details of that, because if I start talking details, it's directly in conflict with what's said, and they're doing that. I'm just telling you the point and principle. I know what I've experienced, and I can only tell you what I've experienced. But anyway, I'm going to round this off. But no, just to let you know, I still haven't forgot about the Mandela effect at all. I've never forgot about it, and I've thought about it, and I've always thought about it since the very day I've come across the term Mandela effect back in 2016, and all the other things I experienced and came across in 2016. I've never ever dismissed it or forgot about it, or phased it out, or shown no interest. Well, it would appear on there that it's shown no interest. If you're using that as a means of gauging how much interest in showing or putting into it, if you think that I'm not putting any videos on my channel about the Mandela effect as a means of deciding whether I'm not interested in it or not, fair enough. Well, that's not the case. It's shown to show interest, I suppose. I haven't put much videos on my channel, so I wouldn't show. That would show you that I haven't done that. That's what it shows you. But it doesn't mean that I'm not interested. It just means I haven't put any up on my channel lately regarding the Mandela effect. But when I say lately in relation to the length of time I've had the channel and the amount of videos that are on it and the gaps between the videos that I've put on in all the different subjects. I've only had the channel 3 years this April coming. So some channels have been out there for, well, much longer since YouTube started. The one I watch has been out longer than mine, considerably longer, and it's mainly just been talking about the Mandela effect. I won't name the channel, but it's I find it interesting and quite intriguing. But like I say, if I'm watching something online, it can only ever be second hand. If I hear stuff from word of mouth, it can only be that, second hand. If you experience something yourself first hand, then that's what it is. But then it goes deeper, because what you accept to be first hand, if you see and hear and use that as, if you believe what you see and if you believe what you hear first hand, then it goes to that level. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a fact, because if you go further, what you see, right, you accept it to be true. But what you see maybe, let's give you an example. Let's just say it's a hologram. Let's say you don't know that you're looking at a hologram, whatever it is you're looking at, you're watching this. But the reality you're in, you might think what you see to be true. You might feel stuff and you think that that's real. But it could be artificial, like if you're in a simulator, for example. Again, there's theories, but you could go as deep as that. If you could think it, then it could happen. What's to say that it isn't, other than what you accept to be true or what? But this could go on for ages. I'm going to have to leave this for now. But yeah, like I said, and I just felt I wanted to put this out on my channel. Quest, if you watch some Quest videos, that's focused on mainly stuff I find strange, fascinating, interesting. Asking for what you think of it as well, basically. I've put other little videos up that are just titled, different titles on stuff that I find bizarre. But no, I like to say, I've never lost interest. I've never stopped. I can't lose interest, even if I wanted to. And I'll tell you one thing, back in 2019, I got really upset. And I got stuff, and I threw a lot of stuff. I just got really, really upset. And I got really upset, angry, whatever, about it. And I said, no, I just wasn't wanting to. It was because of the skepticism. It was just, it seemed like I was banging my head against a brick wall. I knew what I was talking about, and I just kind of got really upset, because I thought, at first I thought I was going to be able to, when I talked about this stuff, it would open, you know, some people would be like, wow, this is going to change everything, you know, it's like, whoa, this is something big, you know, this is going to make things maybe, you know, hopefully better, positive thing, you know. But no, it didn't. I just got sceptical. It just seemed that some of the reasons and excuses that I got told were just off the scale. Just a lot of crap, in my opinion. It was just lunatic. It was ridiculous crap. I was like to the level where I got a picture. I actually had pictures, and I just threw them out because I got really upset. But I've had a picture, although I kind of contradict myself because pictures are second hand. But let's just say I had a picture of an alien, right? It's like, wow, there's a picture. I've got video footage of an alien. There it is there. There's a picture of an alien and video footage of an alien. This is going to surely change stuff. I'll give you facts. Even you see it yourself. I've even questioned them. I've even got them to see something that they remembered and get them. And then they just directly contradicts. It's like I says to some, I mean, I could show them it and they'll still deny it. They'll say, oh no, it's just a mistake in the camera. Oh, no, it's just a shadow or something. Oh, I got really annoyed. And there was even one of them, I got, they were adamant that this was the case on. So I won't give details, but this was something that they were 100%, and they even swore on someone's. They were that certain. They were absolutely certain they were right. Absolutely certain they swore that they were right. And I showed them something that would completely say that it wasn't the case. And you know, at first they were like, and then suddenly it was like, oh no, it was maybe wrong. And I was like, yeah. You know, I kind of go, oh, what's the point? You know what I mean? What's the point? What is the point? So I just threw it on it. I didn't say it in front of them. I didn't do it. I just got my own time, on my own space. I said, what's the point in trying to convince anybody about it? What is the point? Because they're just not going to believe it. I could show them, I could show you. If I said, right, this here, if this didn't exist, Pepsi Max, let's just say this Pepsi Max didn't exist, right? And everybody accepted that Pepsi Max didn't exist. Just out of argument's sake, right? This is only for argument's sake, right? And I suddenly come up to you and say, look, there's proof. There's Pepsi Max, right? But just to say you're here in this car and it's a physical thing, right? For argument's sake, right? So I got, not you, because then I wouldn't want to say you. Let's just say I got someone in this car, and it's widely accepted that Pepsi Max doesn't exist, right? Just for argument's sake. So they come in here and I produce something. I say, like, there's Pepsi Max. There it is. And they go like this. They read it, they see it's Pepsi Max and go, oh no, that's just a misspelling. Oh no, that's not Pepsi Max. That's just the machine that's got it wrong. It's just shite like that. It's ridiculous. That's the sort of things that just said, well, you know, it's like this in my own time. They'd go away. I wouldn't say it to their face, and I didn't say it to them personally because there's a bit more to it. There's something about mind control, I think. But in my own space, I just got, that's the point. Chucked it away and said, forget it. I'm not even going to bother wasting my time. And I'd done so with lots of stuff. I said, what's the point? And I said, I'm not even going to think about it anymore. And just not even going to think about it anymore. What's the point? And you know what? I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about the Mandela effect. I can't. Even if I wanted to, I can't stop thinking about the Mandela effect. Phenomenon. So, if you think I've lost interest in the Mandela effect phenomenon because I'm not putting it on my line, fine, think that. I don't care. Even if I wanted to stop thinking about the Mandela, even if I wasn't, even if, you know, I can't not think about the Mandela effect, even if I tried. I'm interested in it. It keeps coming back to me. I keep seeing it. It's just in my DNA. I need to know why and what's causing it. What I need to learn, and I believe we'll all learn at our own rate as well. By the way, the channels, there's a channel that seems to learn at a higher, faster rate. It would seem that may have a lot more knowledge into it, much further, much more in-depth knowledge. It seems that way, that they're much more knowledgeable. But I believe that we all learn at our own rate. For a reason, by the way. For a reason. We all learn at our own rate for a reason. Not just because we're slow or thick or whatever. We're not. I don't believe any of us are thick. We are the way we are for a good reason. That's what I believe, anyway. That's what I'm saying. Now, you think what you like, but I'm saying that. That we are the way we are for an important reason as well. Right? And it's up to you what you think of that. So, but no, like I say, I haven't lost interest in the Mandela effect or any of that other strange stuff for that matter. I haven't stopped thinking about that stuff. Put it this way, right? Since I was 12, 1987, summer, right? Since that point on, regarding the buses, I haven't even stopped thinking about that. And then what? 48 now. That's nearly 1987, 2023. That's 36 years, isn't it? Right? 35 and a half years. January 2023. It was June 1987. 25 and a half years. No, 35 and a half years. 35 and a half years later and still thinking about it. You know what I mean? So that was back then, and that wasn't even the Mandela effect. And well, no, you don't. I don't know who you are, but surely nobody could think that I've lost interest in it. You know, there's so much I could do with my channel. No, I haven't lost interest in it at all. I've been fascinated in all the strange stuff. Even before that, when I was a kid, when I was really young, I used to watch all these science fiction movies, but don't think that that's making me biased. You know, and not. I like to think things through rationally. I have an open mind. You know what I mean? No, I don't like to just jump in the bandwagon. Oh, it's science. It's this. It's Mandela. And just jump to conclusions. You know, I shouldn't do that. No, obviously no. Gosh, this thing's been running. I've lost track of the time. It's sitting idling here, and I shouldn't idle a car too long, I don't think. Anyway, right, I'm going to get going. I didn't get up to end this video. Just come on, just see what else I put on my channel. Still interested. If I could make more videos and put stuff. The thing as well is that it seems that the channel, a channel that I watch, seems like that if I put up examples of stuff that I find, I talk about the Mandela effect, it's only at that level. It doesn't. It seems like the channel thinks it, and at a level that won't progress either way, up or stuck at a level regardless. So if I put more examples, it's still at that level. It's like almost giving that much credence in it. Some people don't even know what the Mandela effect is, and yet there's so much credence or credentials. Like it's like a scale. It's like of course it exists. It's like levels within it now. It's like it's stuck at this level. It's like of course it exists. It's in here and seems to be stuck there. This channel's way up there or whatever, more in depth. Or seems by the way, because it's a channel and I only watch it from anything I get online. It could only be from one line. It could only be second hand if it's from a distance, or if I'm not getting it first hand. If you regard what you see to hear to be true, then as first hand, then it can't be that. It's from something else, could it? But oh no, I'm going to go. I've got other things to do. Right, I'm going to start forgetting. I'm not going to go on about no. I'll just, if you're interested, just see what else I put up. This video has been a bit long, but anyway, there you go. Right, make what you like of it. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Right, see you later. Bye.